At the 30th place is the Nicaragua campaign, where U.S. Marines engaged in a brutal hunt for Augusto Sandino, utilizing early dive bombing tactics and establishing a template for modern jungle counterinsurgency. At the 29th place is Operation Torch, the first large-scale Allied amphibious landing in North Africa. Under Eisenhower, 100,000 troops engaged Vichy French forces to secure the Mediterranean for the push into Europe. At the 28th place is Operation Overlord, the D-Day invasion of Normandy. Allied forces stormed 5 beaches against the Atlantic Wall, executing the largest amphibious assault in history to liberate Western Europe. At the 27th place is the Manhattan Project, culminating in the atomic strikes by the Enola Gay and Bockscar. These missions forced Japan's surrender and introduced nuclear weapons as the ultimate deterrent. At the 26th place is the Berlin Airlift, a non-stop logistical feat known as Operation Vittles. U.S. pilots flew 2.3 million tons of supplies into West Berlin, successfully breaking the Soviet blockade. At the 25th place is Operation Chromite, MacArthur's daring amphibious landing at Incheon. This strategic surprise cut North Korean supply lines, relieved the Pusan perimeter, and turned the tide of the war. At the 24th place is Operation Ajax, a CIA-led coup orchestrated by Kermit Roosevelt. It successfully overthrew Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh to reinstate the Shah, securing Western control over Iranian oil. At the 23rd place is Operation PB Success, a CIA clandestine mission in Guatemala. By utilizing psychological warfare and mercenary forces, the U.S. ousted President Jacobo Arbenz to protect United Fruit Company interests. At the 22nd place is the Bay of Pigs, a catastrophic attempt by CIA-trained Brigade 2506 to invade Cuba. The failure at Playa Girón solidified Castro's power and pushed Cuba toward the USSR. At the 21st place is the Cuban Quarantine, the naval blockade initiated by JFK. This high-stakes standoff forced the removal of Soviet R-12 missiles, narrowly avoiding a global nuclear exchange. At the 20th place is Rolling Thunder, a systematic multi-year aerial bombardment of North Vietnam. It remains the most intense air campaign in history, aimed at crushing communist logistics and morale. At the 19th place is the Bolivian capture, where CIA-trained rangers tracked Che Guevara to La Higuera. His subsequent execution ended the attempt to spark a Marxist revolution across South America. At the 18th place is Operation Menu, the secret B-52 bombing of neutral Cambodia. Under Nixon, thousands of sorties targeted North Vietnamese sanctuaries, significantly destabilizing the region and fueling internal conflict. At the 17th place is Linebacker 2, the Christmas bombings of Hanoi and Haiphong. Over 11 days, B-52s dropped 15,000 tons of explosives to force North Vietnam back to the peace table. At the 16th place is Chilean coup support, where U.S. intelligence facilitated the military ousting of Salvador Allende. This operation replaced a socialist government with Augusto Pinochet's decades-long pro-Western military dictatorship. At the 15th place is Operation Eagle Claw, the failed mission to rescue 52 hostages from Tehran. A tragic helicopter collision at the Desert One site highlighted critical flaws in special operations doctrine. At the 14th place is Operation Urgent Fury, the rapid invasion of Grenada. Rangers and SEALs ousted a Marxist council to protect 600 American medical students and restore pro-Western regional stability. At the 13th place is El Dorado Canyon, a retaliatory strike using F-111 aardvarks against Libya. Targets included Gaddafi's residential compound in Tripoli, responding directly to the La Belle Disco bombing. At the 12th place is Operation Just Cause, the invasion of Panama to capture Manuel Noriega. 27,000 troops dismantled the PDF, eventually seizing the dictator at the Vatican Embassy for drug trafficking. At the 11th place is Operation Desert Storm, the high-tech liberation of Kuwait. A massive coalition utilized stealth fighters and GPS-guided munitions to decimate Iraq's invincible military in just 100 hours. At the 10th place is Gothic Serpent, the elite task force ranger mission in Mogadishu. What was intended as a quick snatch and grab turned into the brutal Black Hawk Down urban battle. At the 9th place is Allied Force, the 78-day NATO air campaign against Yugoslavia. It forced Milosevic to withdraw from Kosovo, marking a victory won almost entirely through precision-guided aerial power. At the 8th place is Enduring Freedom, the invasion of Afghanistan following 9/11. Special Forces and the Northern Alliance toppled the Taliban in weeks, initiating the longest war in American history. At the 7th place is Iraqi Freedom, the shock and awe invasion to remove Saddam Hussein. While the regime fell rapidly, it triggered a massive insurgency and fundamentally reshaped the Middle East. At the 6th place is Neptune Spear, the secret Navy SEAL raid on the Abbottabad compound. Using stealth-modified helicopters, DevGru operators eliminated Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks. At the 5th place is Kayla Muller, the Delta Force raid in northern Syria. Forces cornered Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in a tunnel where he detonated a suicide vest, decapitating the ISIS caliphate. At the 4th place is the Soleimani Strike, a precision MQ-9 Reaper drone attack at Baghdad airport. The assassination of the Quds Force commander eliminated Iran's primary architect of regional proxy warfare. At the 3rd place is Absolute Resolve, the lightning January strike in Caracas. Special operators captured Nicolas Maduro in his bunker, successfully transporting him to New York to face international narco-terrorism charges. At the 2nd place is Jalisco Victory, the February operation targeting Nemesio Oseguera. Utilizing advanced U.S. SIGINT, Mexican Marines neutralized El Mencho in Tapalpa, shattering the CJNG's grip on global fentanyl routes. At the 1st place is Operation Epic Fury, the definitive joint strike in Tehran last week. A massive drone swarm neutralized Ali Khamenei, triggering the immediate collapse of the theocratic regime's leadership.